Laurent Perrier, hype or the real deal? Laurent Perrier, flanked by its legendary cousins, Lanson and Salon. Today, we'll uncork the connection and rate Laurent Perrier on our 5 sip markers: grape, taste, history, price, and how this wine fights in its weight category against others. Let's take this wine from the grape to the glass. Today's bottle, Laurent Perrier Brut La Cuvée. Can actually champagne under $60 be a quiet luxury? Laurent Perrier says it can deliver elegance. La Cuvée Brut non-vintage usually retails between $45 and $60 on average, a price that delivers remarkable value for what's in the glass. Laurent Perrier is the champagne that doesn't ask for attention. It's not loud, it's not trying. It's that friend that walks without spotlight but somehow, turns all the heads. This isn't ostentatious luxury. It's actually approachable luxury with some restraint and depth, the kind that doesn't need to prove anything because it knows its worth. Founded in 1812, the champagne survived revolutions, wars. However, its most powerful chapter was written not by the CEO, but, surprise, a widow. Am I the only one who starts seeing the trend between champagnes and the widows? Her name was Marie-Louise, born in a famed Lanson champagne family, but not a heiress to its throne. She married for love during World War I. A nurse fell in love with a soldier that she was taking care of. By the late 1930s, Marie-Louise was already widowed for over a decade. With Europe on the brink of war, she made a really bold move. Not to save the legacy, but to build one for her children. With her own resources, she bought a struggling champagne house, Laurent Perrier. And when Nazi forces were sweeping through Europe, she hid best bottles behind the walls to preserve the legacy. She had 4 children, 3 sons and a daughter. Maurice, the eldest, joined French resistance and unfortunately died in concentration camp. Bernard, her second son, returned from the war and stepped straight into the cellars, eventually transforming Laurent Perrier into a world-class house from 1949 up until 2005. Charles, her youngest son, was entrusted with Champagne de la Motte, a family property that he later aligned with the legendary house of Salon, and now both are part of Laurent Perrier Group. Marie-Louise didn't just transform the house, she rebuilt it, quietly, fiercely, with a vision. She restored the cellars, rebuilt the brand, and handed her son a legacy instead of the burden. Bernard took over in 1949 with a refusal to follow the trend. He believed in precision, freshness, and Chardonnay-led blends, a big contrast to the region focused on Pinot Noir. He introduced stainless steel when others were actually clinging to the oak. He actually championed low-dosage champagnes way before it became cool. And in doing so, he actually gave Laurent Perrier its own voice. And as you have probably noticed, this is not just the story about one champagne house. It's a part of widow legacy in Champagne. Think Barbe Nicole Clicquot, who actually turned the house from ruins into a very well-renowned, celebrated house all over the world. Or Lily Bollinger, who drank champagne in all moods and expanded her house reach without losing its soul. Like all those women, Marie-Louise, she wasn't just reacting, she was re-envisioning. Laurent Perrier is family-owned, fiercely independent, and focused on its own path, not trends, but the timeless elegance. This house wasn't chasing champagne trends, it was actually writing its own story, one graceful bottle at a time. Now, let's pause for the earth beneath these bubbles. Laurent Perrier's soul is actually shaped by the chalky limestone soil of Champagne's Mountain Remise and Côte de Blancs, which in English, Mountain of Remise, and slope of whites. These ancient seabeds don't just drain well, they reflect the light, keep the cool, and stress the grapes just enough for them to sing. This chalky minerality isn't just the afterthought. It's actually the backbone of this wine. You'll taste it like a whisper on the finish. A sensation more than a flavor. Dry, pure, and unmistakably champagne. And actually, it's not all about what's beneath the vines. It's what they do with it. Laurent Perrier is practicing long aging on the lees, at least 4 years for La Cuvée. That's actually twice the legal requirement. The result, finer bubbles, longer finish, and more harmony. This champagne here is shaped by the soil, time, and the house that doesn't cut corners. Let's talk grape composition. La Cuvée blend is Chardonnay-led, and it shows. Here's the full breakdown. Chardonnay 55%. She's the sunlit terrace on a warm July afternoon, bringing citrus brightness, cool elegance, and a cool whisper only limestone can teach. Pinot Noir 35%. Think a big oak tree that's seen things. It brings quiet strength, deep roots, and structure beneath the bubbles. Meunier 10%. Think of this one as unexpected laugh, a little wild berry, a little charm, just enough to round the story and soften the edges. The grapes are harvested from Grand Cru and Premier Cru vineyards, and the final cuvée is composed over 100 different crus. And if you're not following the lingo, don't worry. Check my shorts. I'm giving you a full breakdown on all those fancy words. It's also blended with up to 30% of preserved wines for consistency and depth. Fermented entirely in stainless steel with no oak, no butter, no heavy flavors. Just fresh, crisp, varietal expression with a touch of craftsmanship. So, let's try this guest and see what she has to say for herself. And before I open this bottle, just a quick note. What is grower's champagne? Grower's champagne actually refers to champagne that's produced by the same estate that grows the grapes. Often on the label you can see RM, that stands for Recolon Manipulant. What it means is it was produced by a smaller independent producer that grows their grapes and lets the terroir reflect in the grape. These are typically smaller independent producers, and their wine reflects the specific terroir of their vineyards. So now we can open the bottle and talk a little bit about Laurent Perrier's path. This is not a grower's champagne. However, it does fight against some of the grower's champagnes. Houses like Moet, actually Moet, because the owner who established the house was Dutch, so it's pronounced Moet. So houses like Moet and Veuve, also Laurent Perrier, they buy grapes from other growers. Therefore, they are not marked RM. And a little tip, if you don't want your champagne to bubble, make sure the glass is clean. Don't just take it from the dishwasher. Usually the soap residue can create an unforgettable spill. Cheers. Laurent Perrier actually competes not just with heavy hitters, mass producers, but with niche, small growers that are considered more avant-garde. On the nose, lemon zest, white peach, honeysuckle, and the chalky cleanness the champagne lovers chase. On the palate, crisp acidity, and the finish that's both linear and lingering. There is restraint here, but also a deep generosity. It looks at me and it doesn't need to flirt. I'll tell you that. It already knows I'm intrigued. So, what would I pair this wine with? Let's see. Oysters, lobster roll, goat cheese crostini, chicken a la creme, sushi, and salty potato chips on a balcony at the golden hour with your friend. Let's talk price point. At approximately $55 a bottle, Laurent Perrier La Cuvée lives in its perfectly established luxury sweet spot, affordable enough to pop just because, like today, refined enough to bring as a gift without apology. You're not just paying for bubbles, you're paying for chug, Chardonnay, and the craftsmanship. Oh, and yes, it's worth it. Let's see how this champagne fights in its weight. Against heavy hitters like Moet or Veuve Clicquot, Laurent Perrier stands on its own with a quiet elegance. It doesn't demand attention, it earns it. It's like Chanel silk in a lineup of sequin dresses. And as promised, let's score this bottle. Here's how Laurent Perrier scores on Sydney Maybe scale. On grape composition, and I give it a 90. Next to its cousin Salon, the golden standard of Chardonnay, Laurent Perrier here stands quietly yet gracefully, balanced but not groundbreaking. So on a tasting profile, I give it 86. History and legacy, well, it's a definite 100. Price versus quality, I give it an 84. Fights in its own weight, well, I give it a 92 points. Well, after rounding the numbers and a few swirls, just kidding, we don't swirl champagne, and almost a full glass of honesty, I give this one a 90-point score. Well, we've swirled, we've sipped, and now let's seal the deal. I'm Julia, and this was Sip Me Maybe, the podcast where every glass has a story and no sip goes unnoticed. Sip wisely, and I'll see you the next pour.